The yips. I never learned that word till I got into baseball. I'd heard about it with some players on the Yankees. I think it was Steve Sachs back in the day. Yips are when a professional baseball player all of a sudden can't do that which he was able to do that enabled him to become a professional baseball player. So let's take a pitcher, for example. When a pitcher can no longer throw a strike or even throw the ball even close to the catcher behind the plate, and it happens again and again. It happened to Rick Ankiel of the St. Louis Cardinals. He got the yips. All of a sudden, he turned into an outfielder. He was no longer a pitcher. Jose Altuve, the diminutive Jose Altuve. I say that word because it's not pejorative, because I'm diminutive too. He made exactly 0 errors during the regular season. In the last 48 hours, he has made 3 errors in the league championship series. All of them throwing errors, 2 to first base, 1 to second base. And there is talk now that Altuve has the yips. And we've heard about it maybe this season. Remember Daniel Bard, that amazing pitcher who was out of baseball forever and came back with the Rockies this year, even got a save, and he was suffering from the yips. The pitcher for the Braves, pitching right now in the league championship series, Matzik, had to go to independent ball, was the number 9 pick in the country. He got the yips. Done. He found a way back. So what's happening right now in Houston in that clubhouse? Well, as you know, last night, the Houston Astros came back to lose. They were up 1-0 on an Altuve home run. Altuve's offense doesn't have the yips. He's actually the only one on that team who's hitting right now. They're down 3-0 to the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, they can still win in 7 and make our pick and wait to see work, but it's not going to happen. There's been one team in history to come back from a 3-0 deficit, and that was the 2004 Boston Braves. Do you remember when Dave Roberts stole that base against Mariano Rivera? Dave Roberts, as in the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I said the Boston Braves, Coca. Hey, it's October 14th. Why should this day be different than any other day? I don't know why. It's the Boston Red Sox who came back to beat the New York Yankees, of course, in 2004. When you're down 3-0, it's over. It's done. The Houston Astros are not going to be in the World Series. The Tampa Bay Rays are. But when you're down 3-0, you go into that clubhouse and you go see the manager. You're frustrated with Dusty Baker just because when you're the president of a team down 3-0, you're frustrated with everyone. You're frustrated with the lack of hitting. You're frustrated that you're hitting the ball hard, but it's not finding any holes. You're just getting unlucky. You're frustrated with the hit by pitches last night that had the game get away from them. Bases loaded hit by pitches used to drive me insane. Bases loaded walks and bases loaded hit by pitches bothered me more than bases loaded grand slams. That's redundant. I would rather a pitcher give up a home run with the bases loaded than walk a guy and give up 1 run. If it's Barry Bonds, that may be a different story, but in general, that's my view. So you go into the clubhouse and you start with the following. You make it very clear to the players that the series is not over. We're not down 3 games. We need to win tomorrow. That's all we're really focused on. Just win game 4. And it sounds like something you've heard before, right? Just win 1 game at a time. You win 4, then you worry about game 5. Win 5, you win game 6. Once you win game 6, it's anybody's series. But really what happens inside the clubhouse when you're dealing with players and a manager and you're talking to your owner and you're talking to your general manager, you're talking to your manager, you really do talk about not the series. You don't talk about the fact that you're down 3-0. You don't show any sort of panic. You go in with the same swagger the Astros had going into game 1 when Carlos Correa was being cocky and we told him to be quiet. You go in with the same view that, listen, it's a 0-0 series. Let's win today. But then we sit down and we go over the lineup with Dusty Baker, and we have to ask ourselves, are we starting Jose Altuve at second base today? The protocols with COVID say that you cannot get to a game except 5 hours in advance. If this were regular times, I would have Altuve coming for early work because I want balls hit to him nonstop pregame. And then I am holding my breath and crossing my fingers that the first hitter of the game will hit a ground ball to second base. When you've got the yips, there's two ways to approach it. One is by extra work. The other is exactly the opposite. It's no work. Instead of the old adage, get right back on the bicycle, get right back on the horse when you fall off. There's a train of thought that says, let him DH for a couple days. Let him get out of his head. We need his bat. We're okay. We're covered in second base without him. We're going to be okay. So what am I doing as president of the Astros? It's pretty clear. I'm calling up our team psychologist. We hired someone named Jeff Fishbein back in 2000, first year with the Montreal Expos. He became our team psychologist and performance psychologist. Their role is twofold. Their role is to be a therapist off the court, off the field, talk about any issues. You know, the employee assistance program, the EAP program that you may have in your companies, it's called the Employee Assist Program. Well, we have that for our baseball team, for all the employees, uniform and non-uniform personnel. But we also have a psychologist who's available to the players, who's around, who develops and builds a relationship with the players, who all the way from the minor leagues up to the major leagues. They visit all the minor leagues cities, all the minor league players. They're there for spring training. They're there during the season with the regular season players. And what these psychologists do is they build a relationship for times like this. So I am clearly going to my psychologist and saying, listen, go to Altuve and find out how bad it is. Because I'm not looking at analytics about whether to DH him today. I'm not looking at my manager to make a decision or my general manager. I'm asking my sports psychologist to make a decision. I want to know really what's going on with Altuve. And I'm going to ask whether the psychologist has a very deep, good relationship with Altuve. Because as a psychologist, some players buy into it, some players don't. But those who don't, we find another way to get to them from a performance standpoint. We may count on a family member. We may count on a teammate. We may count on a coach. We make sure that every player has someone associated, a non-player associated with that player in order to help that player when a performance crisis or a personal crisis happens. So let's say our psychologist has the relationship with Altuve. I want to know, do we play him at second base? How serious are these yips? Is it not the yips? Did he not have a good grasp? Does he need rosin? Does he need a little pine tar, maybe a little Vaseline? Do we want to make sure that he takes the easy play and that he goes to first base on that play last night instead of trying to get the lead runner at second base? What can we tell Altuve to do, including DHing or putting him back out in the field, in order to take some pressure off him? Because the reality is that he has a lot of years left with us, speaking on behalf of the Astros. And if he gets the yips, there are people whose careers end because of that, because it can bleed from the field to the plate. They've got to nip that in the bud. The Astros have 99 problems. Altuve's yips is clearly in the top 5. But the number one issue the Astros face currently is the Tampa Bay Rays are a better team.